Aviation has a lot of real danger. Your engine could quit in flight, another airplane could collide with you mid-air, or your wife could find out how much you really spend on flying. But of all the dangers pilots face, nothing is more irrational to fear than the tailwheel airplane. Understanding why the tailwheel airplane has become feared is usually about pilots not understanding center of gravity, or simply CG. CG is the average location of all the weight of an airplane. It's where the airplane would balance if hung from a string. You could also think of it as the point where all the mass appears to be located. Tailwheel planes have the main landing gear forward of the CG, while tricycle gear planes have the main landing gear aft of the CG. Let's look at this common piece of rolling luggage to help explain how CG location plays a major factor in handling on the ground, which, during landing, is where egos can get destroyed. Planes too, but they're easier to repair than a pilot's ego. As the luggage sits in its normal upright position, the CG is shown with the yellow symbol. And because the CG is over the base of the luggage, it remains upright. If the luggage is tilted back over the wheels, notice where the CG goes. This is why when you let go of the handle, the luggage falls down. Some people add a smaller bag on top of the main luggage, and notice how this moves the CG higher when the luggage is upright and farther away from the wheels when the luggage is tilted. You can also feel more weight in the handle because the CG is farther from the wheels and there's more total weight. Notice how this is representative of the CG location behind the main landing gear of a tailwheel airplane. In a tricycle gear plane, the CG, or weight of the plane, is pulling the wheels behind it, while in a tail dragger, the weight of the plane is pushing the wheels in front of it. Let's visualize this by pulling and pushing the wheeled luggage. We all know that pulling the luggage is easy because the wheels follow the CG and it's effortless to maneuver. When pushing the luggage, it's difficult to keep the wheels in front of the CG, and any little force or bump quickly starts the wheels moving away from the direction of the mass of the airplane, which soon follows. You can keep the wheels in front of the CG, but that takes constant input and correction, just like in the actual plane. You can see here how much rudder work I'm doing on the landing rollout to keep the airplane pointed straight down the runway and the CG directly behind the main landing gear. Otherwise, this could quickly turn into the dreaded ground loop. I have heard some uninformed pilots even say there are two kinds of tailwheel pilots in this world: those who have ground looped and those who will. Let's explore why ground loops happen and why a well-trained pilot should never have one. Most ground loops occur during the landing in a crosswind, and that's not a coincidence. It's poor technique. The reason this happens is because the wind is trying to weather vane the plane to point to where the wind is coming from. The pilot reacts with rudder to correct the plane so it's pointed straight down the runway. Then they realize they're off center line and try to correct back with rudder. Remember, the CG is behind the wheels pushing the plane. All this movement sets up pilot-induced oscillations, which get bigger with each change in direction and end up in the ground loop once the CG gets far enough outside the longitudinal axis of the plane that even full rudder can't bring it back. Unlike in a tricycle gear plane, where the CG is forward of the main wheels, so there is inherent longitudinal stability, which makes them forgiving of poor pilot technique, as we saw when pulling the luggage, how the wheels stay behind the CG. The better way to land in a crosswind is to slip the plane all the way to touchdown, like I'm doing here in my Pitts S2B. The crosswind is from the left, so I'm holding just enough left bank in to counteract the wind while using the rudder to keep the nose pointed straight down the runway. I'm also being patient and flying the airplane onto the ground. This is a stable approach technique. Now you should feel confident that tailwheel airplanes are nothing to fear, and already be searching online for the nearest flight school that offers training. Fly safe.